Welcome back, everyone, to the Bitcoin Business Bureau. I'm your host, as always, LitecoinLeader. I'm recording once again in our Oregon studio. I don't know what else to call this. I guess this is our office. It's Patrick's office. It's now our office. We're working together on this, planning into 2023 right now. It's a couple of days before the new year. Merry Christmas if you're still celebrating. Happy New Year as we're heading towards it. And we've got lots of things coming up. And I definitely want to mention that, once again, we'll be in Wisconsin, January 18th. The details are on my website. Details are on my Instagram as well. I'll put them in the description as well. EconomicPreppers event. This is going to be myself, Patrick, and Dylan. We might have a guest. I don't know. Eva's hosting us, but we'll be there for the day. The tickets are under $200. It's a suburb of Milwaukee. We're only a couple hours from Chicago, maybe 2.5 hour drive, if that. So if you're in the area, if you're in Minnesota, if you're in the Dakotas, if you're in Iowa, if you're in Illinois, Upper Peninsula, Michigan, or any part of Michigan, and of course, Wisconsin, you're within striking distance, and we would love to see you. We'd love to see you come out. Tickets are under $200. It's a Wednesday, but come on out. We'll be there for the whole day. We'll spend time with you. We'll talk to you. I have no idea what we're doing after the event is done for the day, but hey, that's kind of how we go. We make the best plans, then we adjust. Okay, and that's what we're doing right now. I've made lots of people made lots of plans for the holidays. I've heard lots of people got stuck for the weather. We had an ice event out here. Wasn't quite cold. It wasn't quite cold enough for snow, but it was icy. So things basically shut down for about a day and a half. And now it's like in the 50s. It's actually warmer than Myrtle Beach here, which is very odd. So I think they called it, was it a bomb cyclone or bomb blizzard? Who knows? Like, just give these weather systems names. They made everybody cold. And I'm not going to go into the energy and the heating issues and the rolling blackouts and everything that's going on. My friend Chris, our financial preppers, was just talking about that with his lovely wife Stacy. They were talking about how this rolling blackouts and people were still out of power, and I think they're just trying to wake everybody up and saying, "Hey, everybody's home for the holidays. Let's give them a cold snap," or they're trying to get home for the holidays. Let's give everybody a cold snap to remind them of how dependent everybody is on the electrical grid, and also heating expenses and fuel costs and all that good stuff. So, yeah, they're going to keep trying to railroad those kinds of things in. There's more to talk about. I'll probably make another video shortly. But for today, what I wanted to talk about was history may not repeat itself, but it certainly does rhyme, or words to that effect. And what I wanted to mention there is that there was a certain company that reminded me of Bitcoin. And I've talked about this before. Markets repeat. They kind of repeat. And when new markets emerge, they challenge the norm. You see big winners and you see like a lot of roll off, and then the big winners come right back. So let me share my screen and let me start sharing what I'm talking about. There we go. All right. So this mystery company, and this is a chart of them from, I think, there we go. I'll get it right. I almost gave it away there. This is a chart of how they did each year over year since 1998. And you can see huge growth. 1,000% growth, 10x in 1998 when they emerged on the scene. Huge winner in the industry. And then the market kind of fell out in the year 2000. They lost almost 80%. And at 80%, their leader at the time, all right, I'll give it away. It's Amazon. All right, so this is Amazon. And they took it on the chin for 2000 and 2021, losing another 30%. So if you roll that together, it's 80% and 30% of what's left. So they lost over 80%. That's 30% of 20%. So that's like 6 more percent. They lost like 86% in 2 years of where they were. So if they were like, let's just say they were worth $100, they'd be down to 14. But then they came roaring back in the next couple of years, going up 75%, then going up 178%. So I'm not saying that Bitcoin is going to do the same thing here, but I will say that looking at this chart compared to Bitcoin, and I need to pull up the Bitcoin chart. Hold on, Bitcoin stock chart. There we go. So if I go to the max chart, you can see, well, the history of Bitcoin. Huge ups, huge downs. So there's another huge up, another huge down. So Amazon, if you look at the last if you look at a similar chart for Amazon, they're very similar. So going back to the year 2000, what did Jeff Bezos tell people? He said, it's a famous letter. It's on Twitter. Jeff Bezos wrote this letter to customers and shareholders that all about adoption, how much things they're like the positive spin on the outlook. Like basically saying the market conditions are driving the price down, but all the .com companies were going down in the implosion of the .bomb era in 2000. So this is when pets.com was out there, and let me drop out of the little screen here, and then we go to the big screen and just talk to you guys. So in the back in the day, there's pets.com, and there was huge advertising on the Super Bowl in like 2000, like in January of 2000, and all these companies came out of the woodwork, and they were selling everything they could possibly sell online. And a lot of people was like, this doesn't make any sense. Why am I buying dog food from pets.com online if the shipping is going to kill me? So when you started doing the math, it didn't make any sense. And Amazon was not profitable yet, but they put their footprint on the digital space enough so that they were going to be a winner. So for every Amazon or Google, there was the 100 pets.coms. Like it just happened. So bringing the analogy to crypto, we've got 18 to 20,000 projects or coins that are out there. A lot of them are going to fall by the wayside. I would say somewhere between 10 and 15,000 of them, leaving a couple thousand that are left and maybe a couple hundred real big winners, right? And people look at the top 200 and try to find out the next big winner, the next big 100x. Not easy to find these days. They are out there, but come January, I'm going to be sharing an article I wrote last year. I'm going to revamp it and look at my outlook of what sectors I like for 2023 and what projects it leads me to in the crypto space, because crypto is not going anywhere. Bitcoin just happens to be the first killer app using blockchain, and that led to the crypto space. But Bitcoin is synonymous with crypto, much like Kleenex is synonymous with tissues or Xerox is with copiers, right? Eventually, when you have a big new industry like the cars at the turn of the 20th century, lots of automobiles came out there, but nothing like Ford didn't really dominate until they figured out the assembly line. So they had hundreds of companies that were trying to make cars back then, eventually just narrowed down to a dozen or less. That's what's happening in crypto right now. It's a huge space, lots of room for growth. Everybody ran to it. Everybody was trying to do a new project. They've got all these reasons. You got NFTs, you got DeFi. And then as soon as the first negative wave of not just economics, but just the climate, like all the outside pressures of the world that impacted crypto in a negative way, only the strong are going to survive. So how do you find the strong ones? That's what we're going to talk about in January. But this has happened before. It happened with Amazon. Amazon's still here. Bitcoin is still going to be here. It's died many times, according to many critics, like 99bitcoins.com. If you go to 99bitcoins.com, you'll see like the history of Bitcoin's deaths. It's like hundreds of them. People have declared Bitcoin dead, and it comes back from the dead, and just like when it goes, it's dropped 80% several times throughout its history. It's just doing it again. It's going from almost 70,000 down to 16,000. That's almost 80%. It's pretty close, but it's going to come back. It always does, because the technology is there. Just the valuation and the outside climate changes, the outside influences of how the market is perceived. Nothing has changed with Bitcoin in the last 12 months. It's still a great store of value. It's still a great network. It's still hasn't gone down since its first year. Litecoin's the only network that's never gone down, but that's almost a validation of the Bitcoin blockchain, because it's almost a carbon copy of it, just little tweaks on Litecoin. But I just wanted to point out that these markets, new markets, evolve, and the way that they evolve is you get a whole bunch of people. Somebody proves out that this is a market that's can win. Then a whole bunch of people and a whole new investments come rushing towards it, and then something happens that either it gets attacked or the dynamics of the world change, whatever. It implodes, and you lose like 70-80% of the companies. But the strong survive, and they grow, and they become the leaders even more in that industry as it consolidates down to the true winners. Kind of like when you get a portfolio of stocks, and you say keep your winners, and you say if you have 20 stocks, you keep 3 or 4, and you sell the rest. because you want to let your winners run. And that's what's really happening in these market conditions. Bitcoin is winning. We will talk to you in 2023 about other projects I see that are going to be winners, and I'll explain why. But for now, I just wanted to point out the similarities to crypto in 2022 to the dot-com era of the year 2000, in case you didn't know that history lesson. But like a decade, 2 decades ago, basically a generation ago, roughly speaking, in the, if you believe in the, the four cycles? I'm drawing a blank. Leave it down in the comments if you know what book I'm talking about. However, 80 years it cycles. The fourth turning. All right, I answered my own problem. But the fourth turning is a great book. It's about, and I'm talking about books like this often with the EconomicPreppers show. We talk about books I've read or classic books like Rich Dad Poor Dad or the games. Like I love suggestions. If you wanted me to explain certain things or topics to share with people who may have gotten overlooked, to help them to learn, there's great books out there that I talk about. Confessions of an Economic Hitman. That's going to be on the next show. I can talk about Rich Dad Poor Dad. I can talk about the fourth turning, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I think Patrick has read that. I couldn't get through the whole thing, and things like that. So trying to expand your horizons, but I wanted to point out through today's video just the history lesson of how Amazon parallels to Bitcoin just 22 years prior. So lots said today. I look forward to reading all your comments. And if I don't catch you before then, Happy New Year. And I hope you had a great Christmas and great Boxing Day. But until then, I'm going to close the door on the bureau, say follow leader one more time. I will talk to you soon. Take care.